Hey, what's going on, everybody? So I got a lot of requests to go over the deal I did that was very difficult, and went from a 30K deal down to a 5K deal. Made a lot of mistakes and a lot of things that I think you guys will learn from. Even somebody like myself who's learning from the best, we still make mistakes and we roll with the punches to get the deal done. So it's not about having every answer going into the deal right. It's about making the best decisions, informed decisions off the knowledge that you have, and even if you make mistakes, just pushing through them to get to the next level. So that's exactly what happened on this deal. So the lead came in from Facebook, did a Facebook campaign, did like $200, and had like 8 or 9 leads, and none of them really seemed to be motivated, especially this seller. The seller was extremely difficult the entire transaction. But beforehand, I tried to get a price out of him. He would just, he just would not say a price. He said if he doesn't get what he wants, he's just going to list it, yada, yada, yada. All the key words that shows that, hey, maybe the seller's not motivated. So a couple months went by, and I was just scraping through some old leads just to see if I can't pick something up, because I do that from time to time. And just like this one, as you can see, I can get a deal out of it. This is the second unmotivated seller I would, he was motivated, but the second very difficult seller that I dealt with and made money off of. So, I noticed the pattern. I called him up, said, hey, is the property still available? I said, okay, great, and then I made the offer to him of $125,000. He said, no, that's not gonna do it. I said, okay, well, could you see yourself meeting me anywhere in between? And he said, well, 150 will take it, and I'll sign the paperwork after I review the documents. So I said, okay, well, let me see if I can't get that approved. And I came back at 140. He said, no, you know what? I'm going to think about it. I'll give you a call back in a day later. Like, he really shut me down right there. Like, he knew what he was doing. I come to find out he was a CEO. He's a CEO of a very large company. Well, I say very large, but it's like an $8 million company. So it's not too large, but, he's in charge of some very powerful things. And, he's a very powerful person within his company. So he's used to getting things the way he wants, and very hard-headed, and when things done a certain way, he's very assertive. He wants to be the winner in every argument, and I've gotten good at learning who people are and playing to their character and their skill traits. So I read this person, and my father is the same exact way. He's very, very stern. He's a man's man, and he's always got to be right. So I've dealt with this kind of people all my life, and I knew how to handle them. Every single person that came across them was like, I don't know how you did it. If I was to deal with this person, I would probably flipped out. So, but to me, it's like, as long as they don't put their hands on me, they could say whatever they want and do whatever they want, and I wouldn't care. So that's exactly what I did. But anyways, it came back to me and said, I'll take 150. If that doesn't work, I understand. So I said, okay, better to try than not to try. It was a 3-unit building with a 2,800 square foot garage in the back. That was actually 2 separate parcels that the city put together. And there was only 2 like it in the city. So they're all 1 bedrooms, 1 bath, and they were like 600 to 800 square feet each or something like that. So the garage itself, he told me, was being rented for $900 a month. And then the units were renting for $650 a month. So altogether, it came out to be like, off the top of my head, it was like $2,850 or something like that. And so I knew right then and there at 150, I'm almost at the 2% rule, which means if somebody's going to buy this to rent it out, basically their monthly return would be 2% of the purchase price. So let's say that that property was renting for $3,000 a month. Bought the property for 150. It doesn't need any repairs. All in number is 150. I would have bought that property at the 2% rule, because basically I bought it and I'm making 2% of the purchase price every month. A lot of people buy at the 1% rule, which is fine, but in some markets like mine where it's very competitive, 1.5 to 2% rules are very common. So that's one lesson right there, is how to base the return on a rental income. So if you're not selling to a flipper, and I knew at 1.5% this was a deal all day, so I was way above the 1.5%. So I pitched, I put it under contract. The guy, of course, he reviewed it over the weekend. Had a question about the $100 deposit because he knows he's no dummy. He's like, I've never seen that in my life. He's like, you need to put down like $5,000. I said, I don't even put down $500 for my own property. And we've never had an issue. He's like, I understand that, but I don't know who you are. I said, I understand, but that's kind of where we need to be. So I was very assertive to him, and I got that property, that deposit for $500, or excuse me, for $100 on the contract, and I got the purchase price, and obviously there was no commitment or no I wasn't bound to anything because my contract was solid. So my philosophy is, if you never try, you'll never know. So I went ahead, put it on a contract, sent it out, and got a lot of interest at 180. So I had it on a contract at 150, had a lot of interest at 180. So I started showing the property. I told them, hey, is my contractor's coming by. I walked the property with them because it's local and I could do that. And I mean, this guy was just giving everybody a hard time that came through and making it very difficult. And so he, the next time I went to show it, he demanded to know what was going on because he sensed something was up. And this is where I made another mistake. So write this down. Obviously as wholesalers, we have, this method of getting things done, and most sellers, they just want their money. They don't care. But when we go out there and we send our buyers out there and we label them as contractors, technically they are, but sometimes they can pick up on like, hey, maybe these guys are reselling the property, and you can handle that a couple different ways. So right then and there, I was honest with the guy. I said, you know what, straight up, I'm wholesaling this property. I'm actually putting it on a contract to sell the contract to another buyer, and I had to be honest. Normally, I would never, ever in a million years say that, but I had to be honest to the seller because he, like I said, he's a CEO of a company. He's a very smart guy, and I wasn't going to put one over on him. And plus, if you tell a lie or anything, it's a lot harder to stick with the story, especially when you have other people involved. So what I did was I was honest, straight up. I said, hey, I'm looking for somebody to buy the property. It doesn't affect your and I's agreement. I'm still going to try to close by the end of the contract date, which I did. And that's what's going on. He's like, I don't care who buys it. And he told me straight up, he's like, I don't care who buys it. I just want my property to be sold. He's like, I feel like I'm wasting my time, and I don't want I think my time is more valuable than you think it is. And I told him straight up, I said, hey, you don't have to be here to show this property. I said, I'm doing this as a courtesy, and I appreciate you coming, but he was like, well, I want to be here if somebody's going to be walking my property. I said, no problem. And that's your own fault. In my head, I was like, well, that's your own fault. I don't feel bad. So, I showed it one more time. I had like 3 or 4 buyers who looked at it, and I didn't know this, but at the time, one of the buyers was going behind my back trying to talk to the seller, and he was trying to offer him, more than what I was paying and get the deal and still pay less than what I was offering it for. So I don't deal with that buyer anymore. Lesson number 2, don't deal with that buyer. And if you ever ask me, I'll tell them straight up, hey, you tried to screw me over. So then my third third mistake, I really like these buyers. I wouldn't say we're friends, but really good acquaintances. We went to the meetups a couple times. We always have good discussions, good talks, and it's a nice couple. And they asked me if they could see the property and inspect it with their hard money lender to move forward, and I agreed, which wasn't a big deal because that was like 2 days later. And then once they inspected the property, the hard money lender recommended getting a foundation inspection because the property was leaning. It's over 100 years old. And me being the nice guy that I am, I allowed them to do that, and they told me they would schedule it. So that was on a Sunday. They told me that the next available appointment for the home inspector was on Friday. So that was almost an entire week. And they didn't have a deposit down or anything. They told me they would put a deposit down after the original inspection on Sunday. And they said, well, now they need to get a foundational inspection because that's what the hard money lender recommended. So me being the nice guy that I am, again, it's my fault, not theirs. I let them do it. And sure enough, they did the inspection, and it drug on till I think Wednesday or Friday of the next week before I even got an answer. And I even called the home inspector and said, hey, how long does it take to get this report back? And they said, well, I usually get it out next day. So, and my buyers were telling me they were waiting on the report. And I said, hey, what's going on? I talked, I didn't tell him I talked to the home inspector, but I was like, I need to have an answer for the seller. He's asking me, he bugged me like every day, like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? So kept playing it off, and sure enough, they told me like, hey, we're waiting on our refinance to go through. We didn't expect it to take this long, but right now as it sits, we don't have a whole lot of capital available to put down on this property because their hard money lender required 20% down. And it finally came out of them after I bugged them, and they were like, I'm so sorry, I wanted to get everything moving, but at this point I can't do anything, can you take it for a reduced price? And I had already had another buyer interested, so I said, no, it's fine, we'll get the next one. Thank you for telling me. Don't get mad with your buyers, take responsibility. That's a lesson. Take responsibility for your actions, even if they're not your, if you were waiting on them, that was your own fault for waiting. Just like that was my own fault for waiting and not making them put the deposit down to give them more time, right? So I learned my lesson, and it was a very valuable lesson. But I pitched it to my other buyer. My other buyer is actually a realtor who brings the buyers for me. He said, yeah, it's a done deal. I got it at 185, pay me commissions, and I was gonna make like 15,000 from it. So I said, I'm all for that. And then after talking with them, their buyer backed out. And it had nothing to do with the property. It was just timing and things that just didn't work out. So I did what I could, and they backed out too. And we're talking two and a half weeks out from closing date. So I'm like, fuck, dude, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna sell this property? And so what I did was I reached back out to the buyers who didn't have the money, and I said, hey, I'm not gonna make a lot of money on this deal. I really just wanna move it because the seller is difficult, and I wanna get you guys a great deal. I know this is a great deal because you were gonna buy it at 170. You didn't have the money lined up, and I understand that. What if I can give you till the 31st, and then, and also on top of that, give you a reduced price, a deal that you cannot refuse, and we close by the 31st. And I told them the price, 155 plus all closing. They said, I'll let you know today. They contacted me back and said, hey, we'll take it. So, the deal is never done until the seller says, hey, send me the release, and the release is signed. At all times, there's multiple tools in your tool belt. Remember, no matter what, you have multiple tools. And what you want to do is save every tool that you can for when you need it. So for example, whenever the seller, discovered I was wholesaling the property, I used the tool of being honest and letting them know, hey, like, I've done multiple deals before. This is not anything different to me. I'm going to get this deal done. And, I wouldn't recommend saying you're going to get it done for sure. I said, if anybody's going to get it done, it's going to be me. And I told him that, and he's like, I hope you can prove me wrong. And I said, I will. And I did. And, but you can always, be honest with them. That's a tool. And then just say, hey, we're trying to get our funding involved, or, funding in line for everything. And so we're going to need more time. We're going to need like a 30-day extension. Is that possible? If you run out of time on your contract. So that's one tool. You can ask for an extension. You could say, and if they say no, you can pull out another tool. Hey, I'll pay you $2,000 more if you give me another 30 days. Okay, I like an extra $2,000, or I'll put down an extra $500. I never even put down the deposit, so it didn't really matter. But you say I put down $500 instead of $100, non-refundable, to go in your pocket to give me 30 days extra. Because guys, if you can really just focus on getting this deal done, like, I knew it was a deal because I had a lot of people interested. The biggest problem and hurdle with this property was the seller. He was so difficult. He did not want to show the property. He wanted to interrogate everybody I walked through the property with. He cussed out my home inspector, my buyers, and even the title company on closing day, because he's just that kind of person. He's very assertive. He wants to be right all the time, and he just loves to raise his voice. Maybe he's got some personal issues. I don't know. It's not my place to figure that out. But what I did know is this guy likes to win. So every argument, or every time he would try to argue against me, I just let him, say, hey, I understand, you're completely right, I apologize. He even pulled me into his garage the one time I showed it with the buyers, shut the garage door. It was me and his realtor. I don't know what his realtor had to do. Like, I was supposed to be scared of his realtor or something. But he pulled me in there and just cussed me out and said, I don't like what's going on. You need to be upfront with me and everything. And, this guy, like I said, he just wanted to be this person that was just very, I don't know, self-righteous. I don't know. I don't know what he's going for, but I just let him dish it out on me. I said, you know what, David, I understand. I'm going to let you take care of it, and you tell me what you want to do from here. I said, I'm one to move forward and get this deal done. Your agreement between you and I is not going to change. However, I need your answer. Do you want to move forward or not? He said, well, I guess we'll just move on with the showing. So we did. I didn't take offense. I didn't balk at him. I didn't try to fight the guy. I mean, I'm confident I could have taken him, but it's not about that. It never is. Even if no matter what they say verbally to you, it's never, you don't have to respond or react to that, right? You can just be the bigger person. And it was very hard for me that time, but I just said, hey, you're in control here. Let me know what you want to do. Do you want to proceed or not? And he said, okay, I'll proceed. So I hope you found a lot of valuable lessons from this. I mean, this was a longer video than what I thought it was going to be. However, there's a lot of valuable tips you can take away from my mistakes. So just have those tools in your tool belt. Have those extra solutions to the problem, right? Most of the time, the seller just wants their money. They don't care how long it takes. They don't care. They just want to make sure that they're not paying for any inspections, that they're not going to be, costing, no money's going to be coming out of their pocket, and just to make sure that the deal's going through, and just keep assuring them that we're doing everything we can to get this deal through, and just position yourself like that. So that's all you got to do. Have confidence in everything that you do as well. That definitely helped on this transaction. I was super cocky, super confident, and sometimes that's what it takes, but got it done. Buyers are super happy. Seller, even though he was a dick, he was super happy, and we got the deal closed. So do the best you can, and try everything before you give up, right? It's not over until it's over. And just remember that in anything in life, real estate, life, working out, whatever, it's not over till you say it's over. So I've had multiple deals where just the average wholesaler or the average person would have gave up, and because there's a lot of problems that needed to be solved and overcome. But you just need to be hard-headed. I'm very hard-headed, so I don't take no for an answer unless there's absolutely nothing I can do legally and the deal is just completely crushed. So, and even then I'm asking for solutions and trying to find solutions. So anyways, it was a roller coaster of a ride. It was only $5,000, but a lot of, I would say probably like $100,000 worth of learning experience. I might have missed out on $25,000 wholesale profits from it, from learning from my mistakes, but it's better now than to miss out on $1 million deal down the road. So every loss is a win in my eyes, because it can be a win if you learn from it, and that experience is invaluable. So a lot of you have been asking if I'm going to do like a one-on-one mentorship. I want to hit my goal of doing at least 1 to 2 a month this year. At the end of this month, I should be at 5 or 6 deals closed, and I would already surpass what I did last year. So that'll be awesome. And once I can get that consistently down, I want to be able to focus on my business, get it systematized and everything before I take somebody under my wing and give them my time, because I'm going to charge a lot for my time, just like Kong did. But I just want to let you know, if you keep working at it, never give up, you'll get there too. And if the time is right and I'm able to do it and you have the money available, I'd love to have you apply to be like my student, a year down the road or whatever. And stick with me, guys. So I'm going to be giving free information anyways, and it's the same stuff that I do. I don't hold things back. You know, a lot of people say, all these mentors, you know, they hold all the information back. They give you the sweet spots so they can suck you in and draw you in, and then they just don't give you anything else after that. But that's not me, and that's not Kong either. So he's very, very generous in the information he gives. So hope you learned from that. Let me know if you did, and we look forward to seeing the next one. I'll be going over every deal that I do, and I think that's something you guys would probably like and we'll learn from, and we can go from there. So take care, do your hair, and I'll see you in the next one.